Hello and welcome to Talk from Superheroes. Hey everybody, I'm Andrew Ivamy.
And I'm Diana McCullum.
And you're listening to Talk from Superheroes, where every week we discuss a piece of heroic television or film. And this week, we're talking about Snowpiercer.
We're talking about Snowpiercer, the movie.
The movie.
There's also a show.
That's true. We were talking about the film from 2013.
2013 Chris Evans film Snowpiercer.
Piercer, a hardly snower. Huh?
It's a good joke.
It's a good joke.
It is. It works on a lot of levels.
Yeah.
It works on hey, pickup line level, but also about the snow.
You really have to be discussing this movie for it to work, though.
Oh, yeah. If you're not discussing this movie, that's not anything.
It's not anything.
So this is your only shot to say, Piercer, I hardly snower.
It's not making it into my act. Unless I write a larger joke
about
Snowpiercer, then I could work it in.
Mm-hmm.
But that's...
Go into the Snowpiercer verse.
That's going to be a hard one to thread. I feel like Snowpiercer's not really big in the zeitgeist right now.
Not really, but you can force it. Like that under the dome joke.
Yes, which is not mine. It's someone else's who I feel bad. I forgot this comedian's name.
And we make that joke all the time.
We talk about the television series Under
the
Dome.
So if you've got a good enough joke.
Yeah. If you're the comedian I saw that time do the Under the Dome bit, reach out. I can't remember who you are, but it crushed. But we're talking about...
I wasn't even there.
Yeah.
You came home and told me about it, and it entered our zeitgeist. That's the dream, I believe, for comedians. You can tell me.
Yeah, to make it in... Yeah, I agree. To make it into a household zeitgeist, I think is very high praise for a comedian. And there is someone out there whose name I forget who had a great bit about the television series Under the Dome. But I digress because we are talking about the film Snowpiercer today on the podcast. We were talking about it because it is directed by Bong Joon Ho, who is directing Mickey 17, which comes out next week. And that's what we'll be covering next week on the podcast.
Yeah, so we're getting a little build up as we do.
Yeah.
Same director, same style, same really unique movies from this guy.
Unique stuff for sure. It's nice to get a better understanding of a director before we talk about the new one. But we're building up to Mickey 17. We're talking about Snowpiercer this week. Let's get right into it. Let's talk more about Snowpiercer.
Let's Piercer.
All right, we have watched Snowpiercer, neither of us for the first time.
No, this is the only movie I've ever seen at TIFF, the Toronto Film Festival.
Oh, this is the only one you've seen there.
You've seen more than one?
I don't know if I've seen them
man.
the actual week of TIFF, but the TIFF Bell Lightbox, the actual TIFF theater, I've seen films there. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because we saw this together. It's the only TIFF I've done.
Oh, okay.
Snowpiercer, 100% of my TIFF experience.
Okay. Piercer, hardly snower. Got to keep that in mind. Diana, what'd you think about Snowpiercer? Did you like it?
I love Snowpiercer. I think Snowpiercer is an incredible movie. I remember the first time I saw it, I was a lot more scared. I think I didn't really know what it was. I was just like, Chris Evans, let's go.
Sounds like you.
I just saw Avengers. I'm thirsty for it. I'm all in. Didn't look up much about it. And it was very distraught. I was very upset by the movie. I was less upset this time. I don't know if it's because it was just less of an intense setting or because I've seen it before. But it's just so good. The action is just the right amount of action. The acting is incredible. The set pieces, the train itself, the journey through the train, the themes of classism and global warming, big one, huge one, good themes, nice clear themes. I just love this movie top to bottom. It's got a couple little things I like. I find the order of deaths kind of weird, and the character introductions are a little oddly paced of who's getting a lot of lead time and who's not. And sometimes I always think, and every time that happens in a good movie, I'm like, this is purposeful to point out that anyone can die in war at any time. And I'm like, I still want a Jimmy Bell to live longer. I don't give a shit. So I've got a few little complaints, but overall I think this movie really, really slaps, and I love it very, very much. Andrew, what do you think about Snowpiercer? Did you like it?
I think I'm very much on the same vibe with you. I love it. I think that this movie is great. It's a hit. It's tense. It's interesting. It's got a great premise. Neither one of us have ever read the graphic novels that this was based on. I read kind of some of the plot synopses earlier today. Earlier today, and synopsi. But the graphic novels are bananas. So the fact that it translates to a film this clean really says a lot about the work that they put in to kind of translate that story, and also kind of explains why some of the characters are reinterpreted and some of the deaths are a little bit janky. But I really love it. I think it's fun. I think it's a vibe. I think it's dark. It's brooding. It's interesting. It has something to say, but. It just works top to bottom, I think. And it just looks great doing it the whole time as well.
It looks great doing it. Like every section of the train is a different story, is a different set piece. You're really going on the journey with these characters who've never seen the train. We're all seeing the train.
Yeah, I guess I hadn't really thought about we're going on it together.
We're Curtis and his friends. If you haven't seen this movie in a while, Curtis is Chris Evans. We're Chris Evans and his friends being like, let's look at the train. Let's go on a tour of the train.
That is interesting. I hadn't really thought how it was from the character's perspective, and I think that is a nice touch that we experience it at the same time as them, because a lot of movies of this format, of the we've got to make it from A to B, and also this would be so easy to use this narrative device, would be the we've got to go through here, and then we would see and it would cut to be and then it'll be that room, and then it'll be that section where they'll almost video gamify or Ocean's 11 it to be here's going to be every step of the plan. Now you, the audience, won't be surprised when we get to a new location. But we do go on that adventure with them, which I didn't really notice or appreciate in the moment. But you're right, that rules.
Yeah, and I think a lot of movies would cut to Ed Harris in the front of the train being like, where are they now? A lot of check-ins with the villain. This movie really waiting until the very end. We get to meet Wilford when Chris Evans meets Wilford. We really do go on his journey. Yeah. And we never escape it. You never outside of Chris Evans' point of view.
For the amount of liberties this takes from what I understand of the graphic novel, it does really have comic book pacing about it. To be hey, we're going to introduce some characters, we're going to remove some characters, and actually we're going to figure out where we're going when we get there together. And, even though the creator or writer might have a general idea of where this will be years from now, but we're actually kind of moment to moment building this together.
Yeah, a comic book would never have one of those scenes where it's here's every part of the train that we're going to traverse until we get to Wilford at the end.
Yeah.
Or the beginning. I don't know how train layouts go.
Front. Yeah. I'm going to call it front.
Front and tail.
Front and tail.
They say tail a lot.
They don't say caboose because it's a sillier
engine.
World. Yeah.
They say engine for the front, I guess.
They say engine and tail.
But I guess they always think of the engine being at the end. But yeah, they don't want to say caboose. No. I think that's way too whimsical a word for where you're torturing the lower classes.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to...
We torture the lower classes in the caboose.
Caboose. I guess that is whimsical in that sense, and it would contrast it a little bit. Because I'm they're not against whimsy. The movie's called Snowpiercer with the Eternal Engine. There's some clear whimsy going on in this movie.
There's some whimsy. I saw the childhood teacher classroom part. Very whimsical. There's tons of whimsy in this, but yeah, it's not a caboose though. No one can say that with a straight face.
No. And just to get some of the whimsy out of the way, train couldn't do that. Train can't do that.
I'm perpetually annoyed about this because I love Snowpiercer, and if the idea is the train can pierce through the snow, it takes a year to go around the track in the middle of winter all the time? No, you're not. And also, there's no snow anywhere on the track ever. Now, what you told me about the comic is there's actually 10 trains. Spoiler for the comic.
Spoiler for the comic. There's multiple trains.
Even with 10, that's not enough. A year?
A year? Small track would make more sense.
So you should just go in a tiny circle.
Small track would make more sense.
Tiny little circle. Because... Toronto got 2 snowstorms right in a row. We've been stuck for a week. People couldn't go anywhere. In cars, on foot. Nothing was going on. This train ain't making it through shit.
I'm also going to say, and we're just in goof corner here, because I bought into the premise.
I also bought into the premise.
But yeah, the train ain't doing shit, but also... The world didn't look cold enough for me. Like, I looked around, I'm like, yeah, it's just like all like the wreckage of a city just looks like a regular city. I'm like, it looks like a normal snowfall. I don't know. You didn't sell the cold of it all. Like, it wasn't like an ice. It didn't look like Mr. Freeze hit it with a fucking ice ray. It just
like
kind of
Batman and Robin, everyone's favorite movie on this podcast.
It looked like 1 to 2 feet of snowfall, which will be inconvenient to get around in, but is still doable.
I actually don't mind that because if the idea that you're getting across, now it doesn't fit the idea that the world is now warm enough to live in and is only a little bit cold. It's like Toronto cold, it seems now. Because if the idea is that the world kind of flash froze, then there actually would just, because like when it's very, very cold, you don't get snow. Snow is kind of a medium temperature thing that happens. In the freezing cold, you don't get a lot of snow falling down. So moisture wouldn't really happen on buildings to turn into icicles. It really would just be a layer of frost on everything. So it's actually, to me, kind of believable if the whole world is completely flash frozen, if it was that kind of instant cold.
Right.
But if the world is now warm enough that there's polar bears and we've just survived, then it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So if we were talking like originally first look out the window, I'd be like, that is what it would look like. That's a flash freeze.
I could see that. I could kind of buy into that to be like, it's an Antarctica kind of thing where it's like, it's technically a desert because there is no humidity and it's just the same snow blowing around.
Yeah.
But maybe
like never more snow.
Some blowing snow then maybe would really add more of a feel of like, fuck.
Oh yeah, you could blow some snow around.
You could blow some snow
There's
around.
only like one point where the snow pierces any snow. It's just that one part where for some reason there's 3 big blocks of ice.
And frankly, it barely does it.
Oh man, the Snowpiercer's holding on for dear life, It's been 17 years.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'll give it to it, but yeah, I don't know if Chris Evans really just like destroyed this train or if it was going to crash pretty soon anyway.
I think it was going to crash pretty soon anyway. Yeah.
But I will say this movie does a really good job of explaining things away that aren't making sense in the moment. So for example, we just said the world's actually warm enough to live. But the beginning of the movie, like, it's cold enough to freeze your arm off in 7 minutes. And that doesn't really work in conjunction with each other. But in the scene where they froze that guy's arm off, they were smart enough to be like, we're at a super high elevation.
And also, they're just moving fast. Like, it would be colder as well because of the movement, I think. The wind.
The wind. Does wind chill actually... I always wonder if wind chill is one of those things that just makes you feel colder or you're actually colder.
I think that actually makes you colder. That actually makes you colder. Yeah.
I've never looked into it.
That's basically convection. It will change your temperature to the air temperature quicker.
Okay, I thought the elevation line was just to be like, it's colder here, but where we're going to get in a couple days, it's warmer.
I could buy into that too.
Or like, they just went a little south.
Yeah, maybe that's it too.
Because like the polar bear at the end, I'm like, he could be anywhere.
I did mean to look up where they were in accordance to the map because it was around New Year's. They did show it for a second. I meant to look this up because I remember even like looking at it and being like, I don't think this is the optimal place to stop this fucking train.
Well, it's not the optimal place to stop the train. It's one of my biggest pet peeves with the movie is like, I know they're going on this journey and they're just going to stop the train wherever they can, but mountain range, no matter what. Non-optimal place to stop the train.
Non-optimal place.
You've passed many cities.
Yes.
Yep. Many ports.
Yeah.
Many places with structures.
Yeah. Now, I think it's largely because this dude wanted to get out at the same place that last revolution led his wife to get out.
I mean, we're already like a day past that. You're not gonna find that body.
He wants to try to live in the same state that she died in or whatever. I think like when I glanced at the map for like the 3 seconds it was on the screen, I wanted to be like, are they in like Northern California? But yeah, I think he wants to be in the same area.
Northern California, the polar bears have been working, huh?
They have been working.
17 years of just southernness for the polar bears.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, but I think the train was also like going through like Brazil as well. I'm like, there are places where I'm like, there are closer to the equator places that I think would be more friendly climates. Yeah. So
it bothers me where the train breaks too.
Yeah, it's not exactly where you want it to be.
You didn't save shit. They're gonna die.
Fun movie about the class system. The class system. What if upper class and lower class, but horizontal? So they just do horizontal class system.
It is a horizontal class system.
Yeah. Bong Joon Ho loves this in Parasite. Loves a very literal interpretation of a class system. loves. There was an upper
What if
and lower
we took
class.
the Snowpiercer and we just flipped
We flipped it up, and then we just had the
vertical.
upper and lower class, but they were in an upper and lower part of the house.
Oh man.
What if there was the first class area of the train was where the first class people were, and then lower classes in the back? Real little, but hey, it works.
It works. I can't wait to watch Mickey 17 and be like, I think space is probably one of the classes now.
It's going to be like the further away from Earth you get, either the lower or upper. It's going to be some
We're going to talk about
very literal spatial interpretation of what I think class is going to be.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. This is why we do director lead ups. Because we've seen Parasite. We'd already seen this before.
And I think that there's something that's nice about that where it's just like, yes, it is obvious, but sometimes obvious things are just clean metaphors where it just works really well to be like, yeah, it's a train. The first class area of the train is where first class people are, and it's a class system, and everyone says that. It's a class/caste system, and everyone says aloud what it is, and it's not too clever by an inch.
That's the thing about it. It absolutely works as a metaphor, especially when you're not like, I'm the first one who's ever thought of this. Did you notice that we're separated by classes on the train? First class train, first class citizen. It's like, no, this movie is not like that at all. They're like, yeah, they all stay at the back and then they just march their way through. And it's like how trains work and it's like how society works.
Yeah.
But they're not like, this is just like how society works.
Yeah, or have made it so cloudy that it's hard to understand why it's supposed to be
Yes.
just how society works.
It's that nice middle ground of not cloudy and not bashing you over the head with it.
And works cross-cultural as well, which I think is very important for for something that has crossed international boundaries as a story like this, and has a multinational cast and is a French thing with a Korean director with an American movie star. To have that kind of multinational impact and to hit different cultures and societies, it needs to be a little bit more straight of like, hey, this is what the metaphor is. We kind of get this everywhere. And I feel like Parasite with Bong Joon Ho hit in that same way, where it is very much a slice of Korean culture, but it hit everywhere for everyone to be like, I understand what you are saying about a class system here. And I think that helps it work. Whereas a lot of sci-fi can be like, did you notice that everybody who wears a leather jacket is part of the flip-flop gangs? And the flip-flop gangs, their leaders only have blue eyes. And I think you all know what that means. It's like, now you went 4 tiers too deep. And the enemy of the flip-flop gangs are the cyborgs. And only people with blue steel arms are no, we went too far.
No.
You went.
Anytime I have to do color analysis, you've lost me.
Yeah.
And I mean like lighting and shit. Never works for me. It's always too deep. And also, but I like what you're saying, and I like the idea. I also like that this is about class systems, because sometimes in sci-fi, I think the creator did this. We've talked about other movies that did this. The sci-fi.
The film The Creator.
Sorry, yes, the film The Creator.
The film The Creator, yeah.
Some things are parallels of individual races and racism, and that's much harder to depict in sci-fi in a way that isn't belittling.
Yes.
The androids are the Viet Cong, and it's like, well, they don't like that. I don't like that.
Yeah.
So just having like it's vaguely classes.
Yes.
It's very worldwide. You can take it in and understand it, but also you're not like, oh, do we like that this is about one individual race? Are we okay with what they're saying? It's just class systems.
Yeah.
It's everybody.
Yeah, it is everybody.
You're one of these.
It's represented by
You're
everybody.
somewhere in the train.
The metaphor hasn't gone too hard.
No.
Yeah. I think a key example of like going a bit too much with the metaphor was the video game Detroit Become Human,
I watched you
which
play
was
that,
from years ago. But some of it was like heavy-handed, but with an additional layer in a way that's like, it's just like, this crossed over into dumb. This isn't actually what happened, but there were moments in the game where it felt like it was like, they're like, and the robots have to enter on the back of the bus. Do you even get it? And I'm like, we do get it. And actually, it feels kind of insulting to racial plight to use this as a metaphor. Like, it felt like it was a hair away from being like, here's a robot. Her name is Rosa Sparks. And she has sparks coming out of her. And they make her sit on the... But she refused to. Do you get it? And I'm like...
Rosa Sparks definitely exists in some kind of media somewhere.
But it's just one of those things where it's like, once you get too many layers deep, and with a literal metaphor, it's like, this is insulting now, but this never crosses into insulting.
No,
Snowpiercer is safe.
It's really just like, don't oppress people. They're not going to like that.
They're not going to like it.
They're not going to like that. You're going to get revolution on revolution on revolution. And I'm sorry, but you're just going to have to give up your upper class. I know why you have to have the poor people, because there can't be an upper class unless there's a lower class.
Yeah.
But we could all just be a class.
We could all just be a
There's
class.
Because, like, yeah, obviously in this movie, like, there's enough food and water. We could definitely feed everybody. We choose not to.
Yeah. Yep. And you need children because they can fit into the crawl space or whatever, but that's a whole complicated other thing that I feel like only cropped up in the past couple of years. So you've been just kind of enjoying the system for a while.
At first they were eating them.
Yes.
In a haunting
well, they were
monologue.
eating each other.
Yes.
The poor people. Yes. Before they figured out the bricks of cockroaches. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you still always need young people. You need the society to be sustainable.
Which leads me to when they find the cockroach pudding, where it's just this big thing stirring up cockroaches that's making the gelatinous protein gels or whatever. And Chris Evans' character, Curtis, is just like, oh, like everyone's like, him and the one other person are like, whoa, this is disgusting. It's like, you've eaten people, dude. I feel like once you've eaten a person, if you're like, hey, here's some cockroach gel cubes, I'd be like, yeah, all right, this is actually pretty dope. This is pretty. I was starving for a while. Then I was eating people. Then I developed a taste for baby, a thing that he admits. And then I have, Cockroach Cube. I feel like Cockroach Cube is the height of society.
I disagree. Because I will say, if it doesn't taste like cockroach, fine. I like Jell-O. It looks like Jell-O. Fine. But I'm going to guess that humans just taste like meat and cockroaches are still gross.
I think cockroaches probably just taste like most other things once you stir it up.
Once you stir it up.
I'm saying
eating a raw cockroach.
Yeah, if you bite one, it has texture. Once you remove texture, I'm thinking that the flavor is very probably comparable to most things that have a similar protein and vitamin makeup. You know what I mean?
I completely agree. They're eating those protein bars, no problem. No, even Tilda Swinton takes a big bite. When Chris Evans is like, you eat this, and is making her eat some of it, she takes a shockingly large bite.
She does.
For a woman who's supposed to be like, oh, it's so gross. I'm like, you didn't even just nibble on the corner a little bit.
She was trying to prove a point.
She really went for it.
She went for it.
She's also awesome in this. I think she's my favorite, actress in this, or character.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
she always just does something completely unique in every movie. Just this ethereal force of acting and character creation. I don't know how she does it.
Her, Ed Harris, and Allison Pill, I think, are the big three that we meet who are part of the front. Allison Pill is the teacher character.
I would agree with that.
Are the three kind of main characters that we meet who are towards the front of the train. And I kind of love how detached from reality, how weird these people are, Tilda being the most. But there is something where it's like none of their scenes are grounded in reality. And the rest of this movie is so gritty. And I really love that juxtaposition. It's so delicious. It's so good seeing Tilda here. This
delirious world that the rich live in where they just have no idea what the poor are going through. And they think they do, and they lecture them. And then when they actually live in the world for a second, they can't handle it.
Yes.
In any way, shape, or form. And they thought they were so much better. Yeah, all three of them depict it so well. Maybe not Alison Pill, because she never really gets her comeuppance. I don't even know if she dies. I didn't see her die.
No, she gets the knife thrown at her. Remember? She gets the knife thrown at her and then knocks and falls over.
Oh, she did.
She has a knife in her and the gun falls out of her hand.
I didn't know if that would be enough to kill her, but she is knocked down.
Yeah. It seemed center mass. It was bad.
But yeah, they're all just so out of touch and crazy and just maniacal.
Yes, they are all dressed, filmed, and act like they're in a Wes Anderson movie. They are in a very different film, which makes it really kind of cool and scary as well. As much as it's this is a school teacher and Tilda Swinton, and you're Captain America. I feel like you could push all of these people over and just be at the front.
But they're still crazy to the point where you're like, I don't know what's going to happen if I push them over.
Yeah.
They're going to lose it on me. This is a whole new world.
Yes.
They're living in a totally different world than me. And as we pointed out earlier, we're going through this movie from Chris Evans' point of view.
Yeah.
And he has no idea how to handle it.
They're scary and upsetting in how just completely unfazed they are.
Yeah, like he handled a train car full of men with axes better than he handled the classroom.
Yes.
He was like more prepared for, okay, 50 dudes with axes. We know what to do. We're not even scared. And then he entered a classroom with a kind of crazy pregnant teacher who was propaganding all these kids about the bus. And he was like, I don't know what to do with this, and I'm a little freaked out, and I didn't even notice you snuck a gun in here.
They didn't know what to do about the rave, the hot tubs and couches, the saunas.
You don't have to kill everyone.
No, you don't have to kill everyone, but it still felt like that level of shock of like, this isn't even what I thought the upper class were doing. There's a rave room? And also the idea that you have to go through the drug couch room and the rave room to get to the hair appointment. And like when you started thinking about the placement of shit, like there would be uppity rich people who are like, I'm trying to go to the food cart. I'm trying to go get my hair done and have lunch with a friend today. And I got to go through the rave room and drug chill zone.
I really like thinking about all the things that you have to cross through to get to other things. I like thinking about the school children because they're all in one car learning classes, and there's like a bunch of 7-year-olds. So they have to go through the rave room, the sauna room, the drug room. Although the drug room is right in front of the engine, so that might be one of the last rooms.
Yeah, maybe that's the last room.
Might be, so they might not have to walk through the drug room, but there's also like a pool room, just the amount of rooms.
The sauna is next to where you get your hair done, which is going to fuck up your hair immediately.
When you go home, your hair is going to be like, oh no, I got to go back to the hair salon.
There's like 24 women getting a blow up, and then they have to go through the most humid environment possible. Mm-hmm. Not ideal.
Unless you're like sauna hair salon, then you live behind it.
Yeah, you could get lucky, but
who knows where the housing is.
The layout's all a mess. The layout is all a mess.
The layout's all a mess. They do it all right. I mean, getting food to the front because where the kids are.
Because they didn't have like side hallways for servers and people to go through.
There's no second level. Like even regular trains have a second level sometimes.
Oh, sometimes, yeah.
Have an upper level, which is how you get around. I mean, maybe you can get around through like some little like walkways. Kids are just popping out of places left and right in this train. The daughter is always just like going into a crevice.
Little cubby holes, yeah.
At the very end, the engine, tiny little children are just popping out of the floor.
Yeah.
Andy, the second child, who's just in a weird daze and then gets in the engine for some reason while Chris Evans yells at him.
That dazed kid tripped me out. I don't know what was going on there. I feel like there's a deleted scene with that.
The dazed kid only tripped me out because, like, you know, he's clearly like brainwashed and they've been told him how important it is that he has to do this. But I'm like, didn't you only kidnap him like 3 days ago? He's freshly there.
Yes, and
he's way too brainwashed.
And he recognizes Chris Evans, and he's just like, hey, you're the guy 2 days ago who lived with me and my family.
Where's my dad?
You know my dad.
Yeah, I know you. You know Timmy here. You gave Timmy the ball yesterday.
And outside of the brainwashing, I'm also going to say the job training required. Because it's like Chris Evans jams his hand into the machinery, literally throwing his flesh into the mechanisms of the oppressor and grinding the gears of the system to a halt.
Andrew's getting the themes. He's laying them out.
I'll watch a movie. And he's doing that to try to get this kid out of a hole. And because he's stopped the gears, it's like emergency slowdown activated. And this bullet nugget comes out, and a kid comes out of a closet that they were sleeping in and just like gets in to operate what looks more complex than a jumbo jet. And it's been 2 days. You've been brainwashed, you've been trained, you're fully prepared for this. This isn't even a daily job for that kid.
No, this is an emergency.
This is a one-off, like you had to run a series of drills for this, the rare occurrence of this emergency scenario.
Because Timmy's job makes sense. There's some kind of tube down there that's making a lot of goo, and he's got to clean up the goo. It's all Timmy's doing.
Easy.
That's an easy.
A child can understand that.
Yes, clean out the goo.
Reach your hand in, pull the goo out.
That's no problem. I understand why he's down there, understand that he is capable of doing this job. But yeah, like we haven't slowed the train down to train Andy on how to use the bullet rocket.
Yeah, we haven't been running drills.
No, there's been no drills.
Yeah.
So, and Andy like didn't even, but I guess he was just so excited that he wouldn't even listen to Chris Evans. Like, I've been waiting to use the bullet.
For 2 days, I've been waiting. For 2 whole days.
It's not a long time.
And he responded to that like the way that like a firefighter responds to a fire alarm. Like a stone cold G. Like he's been training a lifetime for this. And he is an 8-year-old who's been there for 2 days.
But like a firefighter who's been in fires and is just like, I'm over it.
Yeah. There was one line read that was unintentionally funny from Chris Evans in that moment as Curtis, because his hand is jammed in the gears. He's going to lose his arm shortly. He sees a kid crawl out of a cabinet, and he knows the kid. And he's like, Andy, come over here and help me. Andy. And then Andy kind of walks close and then keeps walking to that little egg. And he's like, Andy? And then there's just a long pause, and he goes, God damn it, Andy. And the way he delivered, God damn it, Andy, it wasn't dramatic enough for me to stay in the moment. I'm like, that was such a real, God damn it, Andy.
I think Chris Evans is a very good actor who does a lot of good in this movie. And that was a man trying to get his dog to come back from across the park.
That's what it was.
That was not a man trying to save a child's life and begging him to not get into a thing. That was like, no, Andy, over. No, not through traffic. No, Andy, those people don't like you.
Don't eat the bread that they left for the ducks.
Andy.
Don't eat the bread that they left for the... God damn it.
That's the voice he uses when Dodger won't come back from across the park. Dodger is Chris Evans' dog. He's very cute.
Nice. Yeah. God damn it,
so
Dodger.
It was not his best performance, which is crazy because literally the scene before that where he talks about eating the babies.
Great performance.
Haunting.
Great performance.
It's an absolutely haunting scene about what has actually been going on this train.
A terrific, just audition piece. Just a long monologue, and it is just really nice.
What a yummy, just like you can just sit with this and we can leave the camera on you and we don't have to cut away and it's all you.
Yeah.
And you can do whatever you want with it.
Yeah.
So delectable.
Yeah. And he nails it. He nails the emotion. He nails the up and down, the cowardice, the
guilt.
The guilt of it all.
Him being the most reluctant leader because he knows he doesn't deserve it because he has eaten babies.
Yes.
And he was going to eat Edgar.
Yeah.
His the guy who looks up to him. And I love a speech at the end that will just put everything into perspective again, which is actually why I was really excited to watch this movie for a second time because the reveal that we actually ate people's limbs and they weren't just all being frozen like the first guy we saw in the beginning, which I think is such a great reveal.
I think that in retrospect is a nice mislead. It does make me raise some questions to be like, so do you also do this regularly with the freezing of the limbs? Was that a one-time thing?
Yeah. Are half of you eating limbs and half of you frozen limbs? You can't be the first frozen limb.
Yeah, you had a special arm hookup that vacuum sealed in.
So they've definitely done it before, but some people gave up their limbs. So
I agree.
It's this really nice, you seeded it in, but you didn't tell us for sure that's how those other people lost their limbs.
Yeah.
Really nice worked in. And I think I was talking about something else with Chris Evans.
Just that scene and the performance he gives, which is really nice. And so he wanted to eat Edgar.
Yes.
The person who looks up to him and he feels guilt as a leader. It just reflects so much additional color on everything we've seen about his character up until now when he lays down this speech.
Yeah, he couldn't even cut his own arm off to feed people,
But the fact that he tried and he has the scar and he just didn't have the courage or the strength of will to do it.
Well, also, or even just the follow through, because that is a little bit of his problem through most of the movie. It's Edgar keeps saying we should go now, they're gonna cut this guy's arm off, they're gonna steal the kids, they're stealing that woman's husband. He always wants to go now, and Curtis is always wait, not yet. He actually does hold back quite a bit and hesitate, and then gets a lot of people killed in a lot of ways.
Oh, interesting.
But so then him finally just going for it and sticking his arm in, for literally putting his arm out there for someone else is what I guess it redeems him. I don't know if it saves the day, It finishes the plot.
It does something.
It closes out the plot.
There's definitely some complicated stuff going on here.
He's willing to sacrifice his body for someone else, which is what he hadn't been willing to do before.
Yes, he's absolutely in the right in terms of the moral tale or what this story is telling us. Like he has made growth. He is willing to sacrifice himself in a way that he wasn't previously to overthrow the oppressor. It's a good thing. In a broader picture, if you look at it from a sci-fi angle, it's like you might have just doomed the human race, as far as you know. I know from reading a Wikipedia that there's 9 other trains, but we
didn't know that in the movie.
There are some broader implications to the decisions that they have made along the way, but they are fighting bad people throughout it.
How do you feel about the reveal that John Hurt was kind of a bad guy, maybe? This was weird to me. John Hurt's Gilliam, who'd been kind of mentoring Chris Evans the whole movie. Because Ed Harris is like, oh, we've been making these plans for years, and the revolutions are all fake, and this and this and this. I'm like, he was still missing 2 limbs and lived in the tail section his entire life.
One thing that they weren't
what a commitment to the bit.
They weren't clear about when that friendship occurred.
Like day 1?
Yeah, day 1 after he had lost limbs, and then was it post when they started getting like the food cubes, and it wasn't at that point. So there were some things that were ambiguous there, but not in a good kind of ambiguous. Where I'm just like, what occurred here? What's going on?
Are you even telling the truth?
Yeah.
Are you even telling the truth?
Yeah.
Because Gilliam's dead.
Yeah.
So we can't ask him.
But Ed Harris's character did seem to know shit, and it did seem to be the truth, I would say.
It did seem to be the truth. And
clearly he had those little bullet eggs as well that had the notes in it.
Oh, those notes. It was just sending 1-word notes. That's not helpful.
Write smaller.
Right?
Write small. It's a decent
letters
it's a decent
so big.
Amount of space.
Yeah, you could write a lot. You could maybe type it up or something. When he just sends water, blood. It's like, was there a note earlier that was like, hi, I'm going to help you revolt? How did this even start? What was the first note? Hi, my name's Wilford. Do you want to be pen pals?
Revolt? Question mark?
Do you like me? Yes,
why,
no.
and do nothing with this.
You cannot write me back.
You cannot write me back in any way.
I do not know if you got this.
And you know what? There is something about that as much as, because we've goofed on this before, the idea that it always sucks when a villain is like, I knew how all of you would react all of the time. There's something about Ed Harris in the front of the train, just having a little food brick and then having a little pill that he writes a little note and folds it up and puts it in and sends it back, that he's just what do I write on this? Blood? And then puts it in and sends it back and goes, let's see if that does anything. Let's see if that incites a revolution. He doesn't even know who's going to get it. At one point, the kid has the note, and Curtis has to be like, can I please have that? That's a super important communication between me and the revolution leader. And Ed Harris is just at the front of the thing being like, water, soup. He's just sending random notes back to see who gets it and what happens.
I mean, I imagine that's part of what John Hurt's doing, which is interpreting the notes. It's like, this one says water. He's like, that means we have to go to the water tank room. I'm like, oh, okay.
Ah, okay.
I assume that's he's properly interpreting them, but pretending that he's just guessing.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So I imagine he's leading everyone, or he's like, are we sure we didn't get one that said train head? Anyone got one that says head of the train? No. Security?
Anything?
Mm-hmm. No bullets? This one says no bullets.
No bullets? Anything? No bullets would have been helpful. That would have incited the riot pretty quickly, I think.
But they did have bullets, so why the fuck didn't those guards? Oh, because it was all planned.
It was all planned.
All right. You know what? Backtrack on my madness.
It was all planned. And I'm assuming those are the middle, lower class. They're still the guards, the servants. They're not part of the upper class of the train. They were part of the service class, is what I would presume.
Yeah, but you still want to keep the back from getting to the front.
And I think that's why they put all of their bullets with one series of guards. And maybe those other guards, they told them hey, we actually don't have bullets. Maybe they don't know either.
Yeah,
I'm willing to bet those guards aren't in on it. The working class are the one who are thrown to the fodder, I think, here.
Yeah, That's classic.
Yeah, that's a classic. That was a great scene, though, of the, like, they don't have bullet when Chris Evans just runs forward.
Puts
Curtis
it against his head.
Pulls the trigger, click, nothing. They don't have bullets!
And then move. It's on.
They don't have bullets as, like, this war cry rules.
It absolutely rules. And then on top of that, though, they did have a little plan. Love a little plan. All the barrels making, like, this big battering ram so the doors can't close. There's people in the barrels of the battering ram.
Putting the barrels on the wheelie cart so that the food came in so it moves away. Oh, awesome. Awesome.
Love this escape plan.
Yeah.
It's absolutely rules. I wish the rest of your plan had gone as smoothly.
Yeah.
But this point... really fucking good.
Wily stab guy. Love that dude.
I do like that dude. That's Luke Pasquilano. He is from The Musketeers. He plays D'Artagnan.
Oh, okay.
Very much one of my faves. I like him a lot. He's introduced in such a weird way. He's introduced so late. And I don't really get it.
Well, he doesn't have much of a character personality as much as he has a characteristic. It's like, oh, here comes Stabby McGee.
Yeah, but everyone else on the crew is, we're two parents who lost our kids. Edgar is following Curtis, and then the security guy and his daughter. And then it's just like, and I have knives. Like, he's not in any of the meetings. He just kind of just appears out of nowhere. Just like he has a missing scene where it's like, and this guy.
Oh, quite possibly.
Also, why are you so good at stabbing? You look like you're about 20, so you were only a little bit old when you got on the train. Who you been stabbing?
Who you been stabbing, Luke
Pasquilano?
Maybe he's the guy who cuts the arms.
Oh.
I don't know. But we don't know his backstory.
I don't think we're still cutting arms since we got the protein bars.
But maybe at one point.
Oh, he's like 20. He was only 3 or 4 when
he
they
got
were
me.
cutting arms.
Well, then I don't know where he learned to cut.
I don't know where he learned to cut. Where'd he get such a good knife? I can't believe they're allowed to have that.
I think it's a shiv. It looked like it was a sharpened piece of metal.
Oh, I mean, at one point, Chris Evans was cutting all the bars up, and he just had it looked like a real knife.
Okay, well then maybe they have real knives.
But they got, they're hiding stuff.
They're hiding stuff, and also they want a revolution, and also they thought the guards had bullets for a while.
The guards had bullets. All right. Yeah. But yeah. So yeah, I will say one of my tiny complaints is character pacing. I think it's really weird that Jamie Bell dies so soon. I think it's weird that Gray, who's the stabby guy, gets kind of a very late introduction and then no real character build up, even though everyone else on the crew really does get developed.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, it feels like Edgar should be the last one to die in many ways, to be like, this is kind of your last vestige of like hanging on to who you could be and like and hating yourself for who you were. So it really felt like Edgar was the anchor character.
Yeah, definitely. He definitely died too soon. And then the kind of Ewan Bremner, who I really like as an actor, is always so interesting, has this weird thing where he's like introduced, he's not part of the crew, and then he shows up with the torch during the fight scene. So he's missed out being on the crew for like a third of the time, and then he's part of the crew again. So that's just, there's some weird character choices of pacing and introduction and being part of the main cast.
Yeah.
That, like, for a movie that probably shot pretty soon, like quickly, I was like, feels like some of you just like couldn't make it for a week. I can't do the big axe fight.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
I do get that.
Yeah. My character will be there with a torch at the end.
And that's fine. Or again, like it really does feel like something that would happen in a comic. And it's like, oh, say the guy who lost his arm remember him?
He's back.
Yeah. Yeah, so it kind of felt like that. It felt, in many ways, like, I really do wish I knew the graphic novel better, but, like, it felt like some of the character pacing of The Walking Dead as well, to be like...
As you described it to me, it felt Walking Dead-esque.
Yeah, it just feels like we got a lot of people, a lot of through lines. Some things get a little bit bananas, some things are a little bit gritty, and then every now and then it's like, hey, remember this person? It's like, oh, we haven't checked in with them for a while, and it's kind of odd pacing for a film. Yeah.
I will say, speaking of a thing that I don't know if it's from the comics or just in the IMDb trivia that I like, is that the girl isn't actually psychic. And I don't think the movie ever makes that clear.
That was one of the things I wanted to bring up, was the weird clairvoyance of it all.
But she's not clairvoyant. Apparently what it says is if you're born on the train, you just have really good train hearing. So she can just hear what's happening in the next car. She hears the next car is empty. She hears there's a guy running in the next car. She can hear that Timmy's underneath the floorboard. Really, she's just hearing things that are currently happening.
She's just daredeviling.
She's daredeviling, yeah. She doesn't see the future.
Right.
She can just hear through the reverberations of the train.
Interesting.
And I think that actually does make sense and is way more grounded than everything. Because like this is, just for a sci-fi movie, this is pretty grounded. It's like we've explained everything that's happening here. Nothing is magical except for the amount of snow.
It's a heightened reality.
It's a heightened reality. But then you're just like clairvoyance, and it's like actually she can just hear what's going on in the next train.
See, I get that explanation, and obviously, like, it was missed in the movie. They didn't have time to explain it properly. But then it doesn't explain, like, why Edgar doesn't have that as well, because he's a train baby.
Well, Edgar, if you work out the math, is like, he was like 3. Because I know Chris Evans said he was a baby, but I think he was just young.
Still, I get, like, that first 3 years didn't give you the super hearing of being a train baby. I don't know.
Maybe also being in that weird tube? What were the tubes?
What were the two? I think that was just solitary confinement. That was the prison cell.
Yeah, but they both seemed like they were asleep. I'm like, is it like a cryo tube? Like you didn't hear a revolution happening behind the wall?
Oh, yeah.
They both seemed kind of high. Like it felt like they like had just been high, got arrested, got put in a tube, and
maybe they were
cryo.
recently high as well. They were definitely getting high.
They were definitely
she got so high and drunk that she fell asleep through the entire third act of the movie.
Yeah, that wasn't just like she wasn't hurt.
She just had a bunch of snuff and a bottle of wine and then laid down.
Yeah. When she goes out into the snow at the end, she's still wasted.
Wrecked, and she's in charge of a child. Like, they're not surviving. No. They are not surviving in any way.
That polar bear is going to have a feast of children any minute now.
Yes.
Yeah, that polar bear is so excited. I can't imagine he's found any ground food in forever. He's definitely living off fish.
Yeah, she has super hearing and terrible vision. Not at all what this world is good for.
Because she's never seen the sun.
Yeah. I mean, like, they have some windows or whatever, but also, like, snow blindness is going to occur within the day. Because even if the weather is decent, if she doesn't know, it's wrecked. It's wrecked. Yeah. There's no way it's not a happy ending.
It's not a happy ending. No. Because, like, there's no way to pretend they even survive. Yeah, you're in a mountain range. It's still cold. The train's completely wrecked. You don't have any survival skills that you've been taught. It's not like, because, the father is like, I think that it's implied that the Inuit mother was her mother, but it's not like she taught her any skills. She's been dead for 15 years.
Yeah, those aren't intrinsic within you.
No, you don't just get born with that.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't have any supplies. Like, they don't have wood to make fires.
Yeah.
You really do. They're right. If the train crashes, we all die.
She is a 17-year-old lifelong drug addict who's never stepped foot on Earth before.
And her one superpower is that I know what's going to happen on a train, and the train just crashed.
I can hear really good on a train.
Do you have any other trains I could get on?
Yeah.
One of the trains could go by.
She is not at all adept
to surviving. One of the other 9 trains?
Maybe that could help. Because even, like, most of the train cars fell off the cliff, so she can't even, like, salvage supplies.
Oh, no, those are gone.
Doesn't seem like there's anyone else to help in any way.
Yeah, no, if I was that little kid, Timmy, I'd probably be like, I think I liked it better before. I know I was in a little hole pulling out goo. It was warm.
Yeah.
They fed me.
Yeah. He probably wasn't always in the, 24 hours a day, not always in the hole.
I assume him and Andy have to switch out.
Oh, maybe.
And Andy's sleeping in the little shelf.
Yeah.
And then
they switch out.
They switch out. You can't do it 24 hours a day. No one's capable of that.
So
like the shift work.
Yep. Yeah, shift work.
Gotta go in for my goo shift.
It's complicated what was going on in the world. Yeah, and then that polar bear sees them at the end and it's got to be like, these fucking guys again. We had a good 17 years with no humans. Everything was really nice.
You guys caused global warming. You fixed global warming.
Ish. You overshot it a bit.
You went a little too far.
But it worked for us, the polar bear.
As someone who's seen that video of the really skinny polar bear, I'm really happy for the polar bears.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they made it because it feels like it was too cold even for them, but
it does still feel like it's like they still need like water to get fish from or whatever polar bears do. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not a goddamn polar bear
expert.
That
is mostly what they do. Yeah, they pull like big fish out of the water.
Yeah.
So they actually need it to be a little bit warm.
a little bit. But some have survived. They took an extra long hibernation or whatever. Now they're like, these fucking guys are back.
But also if he eats those two, that's it.
Yeah.
It's up to him. This polar bear now has a journey for himself to go on of making sure the human race is wiped out.
Oh.
That's a fun fact for him.
Good. He can finish it off.
Close out.
Yeah. Yeah, just a polar bear eating man and being like, is this the last one?
Babies do taste best.
Oh,
Is a 5-year-old a baby?
Curtis was right.
Curtis
was right. Yeah, so that's going to be an interesting choice for that. Yeah, the whole sci-fi premise of all of this is a little bit loose and hand wavy in a way where I'm like, okay, I guess. What are we saying about? I can extrapolate themes from it, but it doesn't say it as clearly as the stuff on the train.
I mean, yeah, because the theme about global warming is, I guess, you shouldn't try to fix it. Don't try to fix it.
I think it is, and again, this is me implying themes that I've seen in other things and that I would like to see. The premise of the movie is global warming got really bad, so we found a chemical we thought would fix it. We dumped it in the air, and it caused an ice age. So I think the theme of that is there's no easy answers. You can't lazy your way out of a situation that being lazy got yourself into. That slow moving collective action is what's going to fix it. And we can't just buy our answers through capitalism and science.
I agree that is the theme, actually, yes.
But it's mainly just like, it shows like a footage of a plane. It's like, yeah, I don't know, man, chemtrails. Anyway, it's ice now. I'm like, okay, we're really filling in a lot of the gaps ourselves for what any of that might mean.
I think when most of your themes are about class system, the ones about global warming can just be like, whatever, that's just a plot point.
Yeah,
I needed the world to freeze. I needed to freeze the world.
Yeah.
So this is how I froze it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do the day after tomorrow where it freezes for no fucking reason.
Right. We didn't want to do a Mr. Freeze thing.
Oh, we could have done a Mr. Freeze.
We could have, and it's kind of a Mr. Freeze adjacent.
I mean, Mr. Freeze must love this movie.
He's fully erect.
He must
somewhere.
be like, yeah, where do I get that stuff?
Let me in.
Batman didn't stop you guys from freezing it all. Me and Nora could just be walking around. Absolutely fine.
Nora's out there not living her best life, I tell you that.
Yeah, she wouldn't survive either. Her little tube would freeze.
Or she would just be like in there waiting for aliens or the next humans to find her. Hundreds of years from now. Yeah. Thousands of years from now. We'll see. We'll see how long it takes to thaw it all out. Yeah. Well, I'm feeling pretty good about Snowpiercer. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. My last final note isn't really about Snowpiercer. It's about I just wanted to say, what a crazy couple of years, hot years for Chris Evans, because he did Avengers, this movie, and then Winter Soldier back to back. Like each year, 2012 Avengers, this one was 2013, 2014 Winter Soldier. That's a hot 3 years.
It's a hot 3 years.
Those are 3 bangers.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to say. I needed to point out what a banger 3 years.
That is a banger 3 years. Good for him.
Good for him. I mean, considering how long it takes to film the Marvel movies, I assume this one was filmed last?
I think it was probably in between, maybe, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I couldn't place it either, but still. Banger couple of years.
At least quality-wise. I don't know how this did financially, but not well.
No, but it was critically acclaimed.
It was critically acclaimed, and it did poorly financially.
High IMDb rating. Oh, and I also wanted to credit the director for a very cool thing, which is the opening credits are all like costume designer, set designer, tech people, and the actors aren't until the end. I think that's cool.
I didn't even know that was legal.
You can do whatever you want when you're Korean. Or this isn't really a Korean movie. This is an American movie.
Yeah. But I don't know what unions had to agree to for that type of thing, because a lot of credit stuff is regulated by actors union, directors union, and it's all just kind of like there's hard paperwork in place that says who you need to name when. So how they accomplish that is a weird little feat of its own.
Yeah, because normally it has to be like everyone at the end or everyone at the beginning.
Yeah.
And actors are pretty much always first. So to see actually the technical crew be listed first, I was like, that's really nice, and I bet they did do more work than the actors.
Yeah. That was nice.
This.
That was nice. It was a nice time.
Those are my final notes about Snowpiercer.
Love it. Well, let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question of what would you change. So now that we've discussed everything we've discussed, what would you change about this if you could change anything? Before we do ask that final question, we will remind you, as we do every week, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podcast Addict, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Wherever you get your podcast, you can probably leave a 5-star rating. You might be able to leave a review. You might even be able to leave a comment on this specific episode to be like, cool, love you guys. Or, write something about this specific episode.
Easy.
Piercer, I hardly snow her. Write that down. That's good. People are going to actually write that down. People are going to
write that down.
Write that down.
Piercer, I hardly snow. It's great.
It's comedy gold.
It's comedy gold.
That's what people are going to know they're getting when they listen to Talk from Superheroes, and we want them to know that gold is in here. We want them to mine for the gold.
Yeah, it's ready to go. And it's also if you want to watch the show, you can watch them on a Patreon. On the Patreon? No, you can't. On the YouTube. On the YouTube. I say the YouTube now.
The YouTube. We're young, hip, and happening, don't you know?
I hardly snower. So you can watch us on YouTube as well. If you follow our channel From Superheroes, we post the videos of the episodes if that is a preferred place for you to check it out. So hit subscribe, leave a comment and a like over there as well. And if you want to support the show monetarily, you can do that over on our Patreon page, which is a monthly subscription service. You can subscribe at whatever level is in your budget, and you'll get cool bonuses for doing so. $1 a month gets you our webcomic early. $3 a month gets you these episodes early and ad-free. $10 a month will get you a bonus episode of this podcast every single month. All of the other benefits, and it also gets you immediate access to the back catalog of all of the Patreon bonuses. This month we did Hollywood Homicide, which was a Harrison Ford, Anthony Mackie tie-in.
They're both technically in it.
And they're both technically in it, which is a fun one. That's available right now. And if there's any individual episode from the Patreon catalog that you would like to listen to, you can get that for $5 as well.
Yeah, the backlog's fun. It's stuff we never cover on the regular episodes, ad-free, full episodes of stuff you're not going to hear here on the free side.
So check it out over at patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. That is patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. And now, let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question. What would you change about this if you could change anything? Diana, what would you change?
None of my changes are going to be very surprising because it's all stuff I complained about during the show. So I'm going to have Edgar lives a little longer. He still dies just because everyone's dying. And I think the whole idea is like the really young kids have to survive. We're supposed to save the future and save the kids. Although also I'm realizing as I talk that maybe the theme was like you can just fuck over your kids no matter what, even if you try to save them at the very end. The future is doomed. So Edgar lives longer. Luke Pasqualano gets introduced a little sooner. Some kind of scene about like why he's part of the crew, where he learned knife stuff. I don't care. Why he's so protective of John Hurt's character. My biggest change, though, is that I don't like how dreary this ending is, even though the polar bear is supposed to be like a hopeful sign that the world is growing. So they crash the train in some kind of city. It's also full of animals, showing that there's life, because the animals can go wherever they want, because it's an ice age. In some kind of city where there's going to be shelter, where there's going to be supplies. They can find some frozen Spam. I don't know what you need. I mean, I'm sure the canned goods are fine. They're frozen solid. You put them over a fire, you're actually going to be able to eat them, I think. Huh. I don't know how, they're very flash frozen. So I think if they just crashed in any kind of city, port, anywhere with supplies, they can rebuild society. It would be much more nice and hopeful. Even how he was tracking how the world was changing. He was like, "There's a plane, and now it's completely available." I'm like, "Are we going to go fly the plane? What is this plan? Is the plane going to take us to somewhere where there's warmer and a little bit better?" Just a little bit of hope that we haven't totally destroyed ourselves. Because I don't believe the bear at all. He's going to eat them, or they're just going to die of cold. So I want a little hope, so they just crash in a city. Andrew, what would you change in Snowpiercer?
I like that. I like your change. Yeah, crashing in a city would add a little bit more hope to it. I could even go for a bleaker, ambiguous ending as well, where they do keep the train going and kind of buy into a class system, because they're just like, it isn't morally right, but it's the only scenario where we can confirm humanity exists.
Yeah,
that's complicated.
It's nice to not kill everybody.
Yeah. But either way, I think a different ending. I'm with you. I could go for a happier one. My main change, and I'm sorry to say this because I think he has some really great scenes and does generally a pretty good job. I don't think Chris Evans is the right lead for this.
Oh, is it just because he treated that kid like a dog?
He did. Andy. He's not great there. He really sells the scene where he kind of lays out his guilt. I think that this actually might be really good casting for Chris Evans today.
He wasn't ready.
Not only was he not ready, I think wedging this right in between two iconic Captain America performances, there are moments in this where he actually floats into Captain America. Not that his Captain America is that different from his natural kind of cadence and tonality, but there are moments where it feels like he's talking to Tony Stark, where like Jamie Bell is just like, "You're the leader. We need you to lead us." And he's just like, "No, I'm no leader." And it's just too gravelly, and it feels like he's saying it as he's about to punch a supervillain. Like
at one point,
he doesn't believe it. He feels too strong.
I was gonna say I agree, because at one point it's like they're about to fight the guys with the knives, and like it cuts into him and real close, and he goes, "We fight," and I'm like, that's a real Avengers Assemble and Endgame kind of energy you've just brought to this.
Yes.
Really downtrodden, like should be physically kind of weak.
Yeah.
Not actually a leader man.
And I think even outside of the straight physicality of him obviously being like muscular and larger, and they're hiding it in the kind of like the coat and the costume, and they do a pretty good job of that. I feel like he just doesn't carry himself as a man who doesn't think he deserves leadership. Where it's like in that moment where he expresses his backstory, I'm like, this makes so much sense. And in this scene, I feel that you don't deserve leadership. But at any other point in the movie, when someone treats him like a leader, I don't feel that self-hatred. I don't feel a lack of confidence. People are like, "You're not a leader." And it feels just kind of flat of him being like, "You're right, I'm not. But we got to get to that next train." And it still feels very action hero. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think just it was wedged too close to filming two iconic Caps. And he didn't quite switch out of that mode while he was filming this. And he can, as an actor. I've seen him do it. He can be in other modes. He's not just perpetually the Captain America guy to me. But in this one, he didn't switch out of it. So I think it needs to be someone else. Frankly, I think Jamie Bell would actually be much better casting for the lead of this movie.
I do like Jamie Bell a lot, and everything. Like, he's been in some really terrible movies, and he's always really good in them. Like, he's in Fan Four Stick. He's in Jumper, and Jumper's a terrible movie, and he's actually really good at it. I think he's always very talented. So I get what you're saying, and actually, as much as I love Chris Evans, I don't disagree, because I think the scene where he tells his backstory, and I also think one of the scenes with John Hurt is also very like quiet and intimate. But I think this movie maybe does just have too many action scenes for him to fully go into like, I'm doing an indie movie where I'm just fully characterized. He is leading people in a revolt, very much like Captain America.
Yeah.
So it's too similar to what he's been doing to really be like, this is a totally different role than Steve Rogers. Like, it's not.
It's not.
It's if Steve Rogers was on a train.
You're a natural born leader who's acting like a natural born leader, and you also seem confident the entire time. It seems like he always has believed in himself as being the leader.
He didn't really feel unconfident. You're right. There's slight hesitations, but they feel like strategy sometimes, which not so much like I don't want to lead. When he won't do the revolution, it's like, no, it's because we have to wait for the barrels and the.
I even think there's another way he could have played this that would have been a little bit better as well, because he is visibly stronger, more muscular, and just a better fighter and in more physical shape than everyone else. When he lays down that backstory of I stabbed a woman and was going to eat her baby, to be he could play this as a someone who has not earned everyone's respect, but has demanded it as a physical force. That he's I'm the one who went around killing people and taking what you have. I was a bad man. And people give me respect, but not in a leadership way, in a you're the leader, boss, don't hurt me kind of a way. So if he played it as kind of a bad man, that had respect in a nasty way, I feel like that could maybe play into his size and shape a little bit more, or a little bit different. I used to be a bad dude until John Hurt showed me kindness in a better way. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. Or they're letting him lead because they're like, well, you eat babies. You can take on the guards. Yeah. Go do it.
Yeah, to be we've weaponized a monster.
Yeah.
But he never feels like a monster. No. But Jamie Bell, I think, would really sell I'm a monster and I hate myself. He's got a little bit of
crazy in his eyes.
Yes.
He always does.
Yeah. So that's my big change is we slide Chris Evans out and Jamie Bell up, and they're only 3 years apart in age.
Yeah, it's
so
kind
being
of ridiculous.
I'm 17
I was 17 when you were a baby. I'm like, what?
I know Jamie Bell's a little more slight than you, but come on.
I think you're a little bit older because like this was 2013. Chris Evans was not his current age, which is what I think you just said his age would be. Like he'd be like 37 then.
Come on.
Yeah. No.
Come on.
You weren't.
So there we go. Well, that's going to do it for this week for Snowpiercer. Next week, we're going to be back and we're going to be talking about more Bong Joon Ho. We're going to be talking about Mickey 17.
Ooh, we'll find out if a class system is horizontal or vertical or in a fourth dimension in space.
Oh, shit. A fourth dimensional class system?
Actually, I think there's probably going to be a fourth dimensional class system.
We'll see how this all goes.
Wow.
We'll talk about that next week on the podcast. In the meantime, if you want to get a hold of us, you can find me online most places. Lately, Blue Sky. I am at Ivimey, Ivimey.
You can find me on Blue Sky and Tumblr at Words of Diana.
And you can find both of us at From Superheroes, and we'll talk to y'all next week.
Bye.